When you are standing at a register watching your total appear on the payment screen, and then a line appears below it that says card fee, processing fee, or surcharge, almost every shopper does the same thing. They tap their card anyway. Because the fee is usually small, because the line is moving, because declining feels complicated and not worth the amount on the screen. Here is what almost nobody knows. Surcharges on debit card purchases are prohibited under the network rules of Visa and MasterCard. Those rules, which every merchant agrees to as a condition of accepting those cards, specifically prohibit merchants from passing a fee to the customer for using a debit card on their network. The fee that just appeared on your screen may violate the agreement the store signed before they ever accepted a single card payment. And the exact words you say before you tap that card determine whether you pay the fee, remove it, or walk out with the documentation to get it back. This video covers exactly what surcharges are and are not, why debit card fees are in a different legal category than the store wants you to believe, what network rules say and how to use them at the register, and the exact words you say to get that fee removed before the transaction completes. Hit subscribe right now because this channel exists to give you knowledge that protects you at the exact moment the other side is counting on you not having it. Share this with one person before this video ends. Someone who shops with a debit card every week. Someone who has tapped through a card fee and never thought to question whether they were required to pay it. Here is the reality most shoppers are never taught. When a merchant accepts Visa or MasterCard, they sign a merchant agreement. That is a binding contract between the store and the card network. Inside that agreement are specific rules about what merchants can and cannot do when customers use their cards. One of those rules is clear. Merchants are prohibited from imposing a surcharge on a customer who pays by debit card. A surcharge, in plain terms, is an extra charge added specifically because you used a card. It is different from a higher posted price for everyone. It is a fee that appears only when a card is presented, designed to offset the merchant's cost of accepting card payments by passing that cost directly to you. Credit card surcharges exist in a more complicated legal space. Some states allow them, some prohibit them, and the rules vary by jurisdiction. Debit card surcharges are in a different category entirely. Visa and MasterCard rules prohibit them across the board, regardless of state. That prohibition is not a suggestion. It is a contractual obligation the merchant agreed to when they signed up. This matters because most merchants who add card fees either do not know the rule, believe their customers do not know the rule, or are hoping the transaction moves fast enough that nobody stops to ask. Here is what the bad way looks like. Shopper presents their debit card. The screen shows a $1.50 card fee. Shopper taps anyway because the amount feels too small to fight. The fee processes. The shopper leaves. The merchant collected a prohibited fee. Multiply that by every shopper who tapped through that same fee that day, and the merchant has collected hundreds of dollars in prohibited charges by the end of a single business day. Here is what the good way looks like. Same register, same screen, same card fee. Before the tap, the shopper says this calmly: I am paying by debit. Surcharges on debit card transactions are prohibited under Visa and MasterCard network rules. Please remove this fee before I complete the transaction. Then the shopper waits. That statement does several things at once. It identifies the payment type as debit, which is the specific category the prohibition covers. It names the rule by source, Visa and MasterCard network rules, which signals to the cashier and any manager nearby that this shopper knows the contractual obligation the merchant agreed to. And it makes a procedural request. Remove the fee before the transaction completes, not a complaint filed afterward, a removal now. In most cases, that statement produces one of two responses. The cashier removes the fee because they understand the rule, or because a manager who overhears recognizes the exposure. Or the cashier says they cannot remove it and calls a manager, which is the next step anyway. Drop a comment right now and tell me, have you ever tapped through a card fee on a debit purchase without knowing you may not have been required to pay it? Tell me yes or no, and tell me how often you see these fees at checkout. I want to know how widespread this is across the country. The fee not being removed at the register is not where the conversation ends. It is where most people give up. Giving up there is a mistake because the escalation path that follows is short and has teeth. If the manager confirms the fee will stand, you do two things before you leave. First, if you need the item, you pay under protest. You say out loud, I am paying this fee under protest and I am disputing it with my card issuer. Paying under protest meaning making clear you disagree and are not voluntarily agreeing to the charge establishes on the record that this was not a consensual transaction. That distinction matters when a dispute is reviewed. Second, you report the violation the same day through two channels. You contact Visa or MasterCard directly through their merchant violation reporting process. Both networks have a mechanism for consumers to report merchants who violate their rules. A report that a merchant is imposing prohibited debit surcharges can result in the merchant being warned, fined, or in repeated cases, losing the ability to accept that network's cards entirely. You also file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is the federal government office that oversees consumer financial products and practices. That office accepts complaints about exactly this type of charge and forwards them to the business for a mandatory response. Most merchants who impose prohibited debit fees stop when they understand those two reporting paths exist and that their customers know how to use them. Not every register fee is a prohibited surcharge. Knowing the difference prevents you from challenging a fee that is actually legitimate. A fee disclosed before you select your payment method, such as a posted sign stating all transactions carry a $1 convenience fee, regardless of how you pay, sits in a different category from a fee that appears only after you present a debit card. The timing and the targeting of the fee determine whether it falls under the network prohibition. A fee that appears on the payment screen after a debit card is tapped, with no prior disclosure, specifically tied to card use, is the prohibited category. That is also the most common pattern attorneys who handle consumer financial disputes report seeing. There's one more thing worth knowing before you walk into that conversation at the register. If a merchant tells you the fee is a processing fee or a technology fee rather than a card surcharge, the label does not change what the fee actually is. Attorneys and consumer advocates confirm that renaming a surcharge does not make it permissible under Visa and MasterCard rules. What matters is whether the fee is tied to card use. If it appears because you used a debit card and would not appear if you paid cash, it is a surcharge by function, regardless of what the receipt calls it. The statement worked. But most shoppers never find out the rule existed until it costs them. Evelyn, 63 years old and a regular customer at a neighborhood grocery store, found out that way. After a system update, a 99-cent card fee began appearing every time she used her debit card. She tapped through it each visit because she assumed it was a new policy she could not change. Over 11 weeks, it cost her more than $10 in fees she was never required to pay. A friend told her about the Visa prohibition on debit surcharges. The next time Evelyn saw the fee, she used the statement at the register. The cashier was not sure how to respond. A manager came over and recognized immediately what Evelyn was describing. The fee was removed on the spot. The manager also said they would review whether the system had been configured correctly. Evelyn filed a report with Visa the same day. She received a confirmation that the merchant had been contacted. The fee stopped appearing on her receipts entirely. What changed was not the rule. The rule had always prohibited that fee. What changed was that Evelyn knew it. Here is the complete recap. Surcharges on debit card transactions are prohibited under Visa and MasterCard network rules, the binding contract every merchant signs as a condition of accepting those cards. When a card fee appears on your payment screen after you present a debit card, that fee may violate the agreement the merchant signed before they accepted their first card payment. Before you tap, you say this: I am paying by debit. Surcharges on debit card transactions are prohibited under Visa and MasterCard network rules. Please remove this fee before I complete the transaction. Then you wait. If the fee is not removed, you pay under protest and report the violation the same day. You contact Visa or MasterCard through their merchant violation reporting process, and you file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the Federal Consumer Finance Oversight Office, through their online system. Both reports go on the merchant's record. Both produce mandatory responses. Think about one person in your life right now. Someone who uses a debit card every week. Someone who has tapped through these fees without knowing the rule existed. Someone who would keep paying a prohibited charge simply because nobody told them they did not have to. Share this video with them today, not later, right now. The statement you just learned takes 15 seconds to say and removes a fee the merchant was prohibited from charging the moment they signed their merchant agreement. If you have ever had a store refuse your cash entirely, there is a video on this channel that covers exactly which states legally require businesses to accept cash, what to say at the register when they refuse, and how to file a complaint when a cashless policy violates your rights. Watch that one next. This video is general educational information only and is not legal advice for your specific situation. Know your rights, use them, stay safe.